Welcome to Current Practice Review, presented by AssetWise Performance Management. This is the second part of a two-part series. The first part presented the concepts of CPR. During this presentation, you will learn how to create a current practice review analysis in AssetWise APM. Basic setup in APM is required before CPR analyses are created. Default values for the CPR analysis type are defined for the site based on the organization's requirements. These include settings for analysis type, number, analysis options that control if copies of the analysis can be made, and how indicators are sourced for the analysis. Additional options that are defined are whether indicators are added automatically to a failure modes inspection task and whether audit reports are created for the CPR. In this presentation, we will use the settings but will not go into detail on how they are created or maintained. CPR analyses are created from the site's Strategy Development view, Strategy Development, and CPR tabs. Click New to open a new analysis dialog. Select the primary asset for the analysis. Enter the asset number directly or browse for it. If browsing, select the asset from the asset hierarchy and then click OK. Select the analysis type. Settings have caused the default CPR analysis type to appear. In some cases, you might have multiple CPR analysis types such as pump CPR or assembly CPR. If this is the case, select the appropriate analysis type from the list. Select the hierarchy that includes the assets to analyze. In most cases, this will be the physical hierarchy. Note that an analysis number is automatically assigned. It can be changed if necessary, but the number must be unique. The CPR title is added automatically. It can be changed if necessary. Click OK. The CPR analysis opens to the Properties view, General, and Details tabs. On the Details tab, you can enter a change set or reference number. These are used for informational purposes only and reference information in systems outside of APM. You can enter an analysis plan start and planned completion date. Click the Operating Context tab. Here you will indicate the context in which these assets are expected to work. Click the drop-down and select from the list. Click the Analysis Description tab if you want to enter details about the analysis. You can copy text from an external system such as Microsoft Word and paste it here, or enter the text directly. Identify the CPR analysis team members. Click the Analysis Team tab and then click Browse. A list of employees appears. Click the checkbox beside each employee to include and then click OK. The employees appear on the Analysis Team tab. Select a facilitator from the list of team members. Only names already selected for the team appear in this list. If the CPR is being created as a result of an analysis request, perhaps from a root cause analysis or RCA, the analysis request will be shown in the Analysis Request tab. Note that you cannot enter information on this tab. On the Assets tab, the assets selected for this analysis are listed. Each asset now has a review status of New Analysis. There have been no action plans developed yet. Note that on the Hierarchy tab, you can view the selected assets in a hierarchy. To the CPR, you may include observations made during the analysis. This can include comments and notes about meetings held during the CPR. Analysis team members may use a checklist as a way to keep track of things to do and follow when they are performing the analysis. You may choose to include documents or attachments to the CPR. These are helpful in providing additional information to the analysis team. They might be drawings, photos, or manufacturer's information about the asset. For more information about using these features, please see the Adding Comments, Meetings, Checklist Items, and Attachments on-demand video. On the Analysis Options tab, you can specify if the CPR can be used at a single site or copied to all sites, and whether the scope of the analysis is defined by the asset. This may be appropriate if the asset is large enough to require separate analyses for different sections of the asset. Failure mode options are defined for the analysis type, and those settings are included here. Options include whether failure mode identification and note sidebars are shown or hidden, how indicator values are defined, what happens when objects are deleted from an action plan, and what is included as part of the failure mode. You can change the options if necessary. For this CPR, the default settings will be used. Once the basic information is included on the CPR, you can begin the facilitation phase. This includes creating or importing action plans and adding indicators. Action plans are developed in the CPR Facilitation view. 4 tabs are included on this view: Action Plans, By Asset, By Hierarchy, and Requests. Action plans can be created from scratch on each of these tabs with the exception of the Request tab. However, action plans can only be imported from the Action Plans tab. If you want, you can also copy action plans from other analyses, such as CPR, MTA2, or RCM2. For this analysis, we will import action plans. To do this, click the Action Plans tab and then click Import. An Import Action Plan wizard opens. Navigate to the folder where the spreadsheet to import is located. Click the File and then click Open. The file path appears in the source file box. Select the matching criteria for the action plan property. Match the columns to headings in the first row of the file, or by column sequence. Click Next. A Column to Import tab appears. All properties for the import are listed, and those without a match appear in red text. To match a property, click the row where there is a mismatch, and then click F2 to open the row for editing. A drop-down arrow appears in the Matching Column field. Click the arrow to view a column from the spreadsheet to use for the match. When matches are made, click Finish. If not all the columns are matched, a message appears. Click Yes to continue. You can see the completion status of the import. A Successful Imports tab shows the values that were imported. If errors were encountered during the import, they are listed on an Errors tab. The reason for the failure is shown. You can either correct the problem and re-import the spreadsheet or manually create the action plan. You can view information about the data import from the Details tab. Click OK to close the Import Action Plans dialog. You can now work with the action plans. From the CPR Facilitation view, click the tab that will display the action plan in the format that you want to work. For example, the Action Plans tab shows the action plans in a table. The By Assets tab shows the analysis assets in a table on the left window pane and the corresponding action plans in a table to the right. The By Hierarchy tab displays the assets in a hierarchy on the left and the corresponding action plans in a table on the right. In this analysis, we will work from the By Hierarchy tab. Click an asset and then double-click an action plan to open it. The information from the imported spreadsheet is included on the action plan. Here, the recommended task is shown. The default task is condition-based maintenance. If this is not appropriate, click the drop-down and select a different task type. Add any task details that are missing. For example, add the technology that will be used when performing the task. Click the Indicators tab. Depending on the options that were selected when the analysis was created, an indicator may appear in the Indicators table. To add an indicator to the action plan, you can either browse for existing indicators or create new. In this example, we will create a new indicator from scratch. Click New. On the Create New Indicator dialog, click the radio button beside the source of the new indicator. You can create the indicator from scratch or from a template. You can create multiple indicators at the same time. Here, we will create a single indicator from scratch. Click From Scratch and then OK. The indicator window opens. The asset number from the action plan appears by default. Enter a name for the indicator, following your company's naming convention. For example, click the drop-down arrow beside Indicator Type and select a type from the list. Note that the tabs that appear on the indicator window change depending on the indicator type selected. Select a collection method and on the Collection tab, enter collection parameters to apply to the indicator. Parameters included on the imported action plans appear here. Click the States tab and enter the indicator's states. First, click the box beside this indicator has states. For descriptive indicators, a normal state appears by default. Click New to add additional states. Enter a name for the state. You can change the default icon if you want. To do this, click Change and then select a new icon from the Change Icon window. Click OK. Indicate whether an alarm should be raised when an indicator reading with this state is entered into APM. If it is, select an alarm type. If there should not be an alarm raised, uncheck the box beside Raise an Alarm when a reading is entered. Click the Notification tab. Here you can specify if one or more employees is to be notified when this alarm is raised on this indicator. If you select the Email option, you must ensure that the employee has a valid email address. Click the Failure Mode tab. Indicate whether a failure record is to be created when this alarm is acknowledged. Select the failure severity to be applied. Click OK. The state has been added to the indicator. Add as many states as are required for the indicator. For a descriptive indicator, you may want to specify what a normal state is. To do this, double-click Normal and then edit the state name. If a default to normal state should be allowed for this indicator, specify it on the indicator. Save the indicator and close the window. The indicator is added to the action plan. Typically, the CPR facilitation involves the creation of the failure mode action plan and the identification of the indicators that need to be read and collected. At this point, the action plan can be marked as Facilitation Complete. Once the action plan has been created and indicators added to it, the action plan can then be implemented. Implementation of the action plan involves adding the indicator to a task and the task to a job. This is done from the action plan. With the action plan open, click the Tasks tab. You can browse to search for a suitable task or task template onto which the indicator will be added. On the Browse Task dialog, click Show Filters if you want to search for the task based on collection information such as trade, frequency, operating condition, etc. If you do not want to see any filtering criteria, you can hide them by clicking Hide Filters. Click the checkbox beside the task that you will add to the CPR failure mode action plan, and then click OK. If a suitable task does not already exist, you can create a new one. Click the Tasks tab. The task can be created from scratch or from a template. Here we will create a new task. To do this, click the drop-down arrow beside New and select either Task or Task Template. On the Create Standard Task dialog, select a work type. Add a title and parameters such as frequency, operating conditions, maintenance, group, and technology. Click OK. The dialog closes and a standard task window opens. Here you can identify the indicators that are collected when the task is performed. Click the Options tab. Select the appropriate options for the indicators to include on the task and the collection planning details. This includes the minimum percentage of indicators to read and planning lead time. You can also choose to update the task's due date based on the next reading date of its indicators. If you want, you can also have check sheets from the task automatically assigned to a handheld computer. If this option is selected, identify the type of mobile computer, the device, and the responsible employee's name. Save and close a standard task. Tasks can be added to a job directly from the action plan. You can browse for an existing job to use or create a new one. If the job is a new one, it can be created from scratch or from a template. Note that some organizations prefer to create one or more standard jobs once all the action plans are completed and indicators and tasks added to them. This can streamline and simplify the implementation of action plans. For this action plan, a job will not be created at this time. To add notes to the failure mode, click the Details in the Notes tab. You can enter notes text directly in the box or paste text from a document into the box. Save the failure mode and close the window. You are returned to the CPR facilitation view. Note that while the action plan status is Facilitation Completed, the analysis status is Analysis in Progress. Continue to work with and add failure modes and action plans to the CPR analysis assets. When finished with an action plan, either mark it as Facilitation Complete or change the status from the CPR Action Plans tab. To do this, right-click the action plan and select Mark as Facilitation Completed. When implementation is complete, the implementer will change the status of each action plan to Implementation Completed. A CPR status will remain Analysis in Progress until all action plans are marked Implementation Completed. In this presentation, you have learned how to create a CPR in AssetWise APM. You know how to select the analysis type and assets. You know how to import action plans to the CPR and how to add indicators and tasks to the action plan. You have seen how to mark an action plan as Facilitation Completed. You know that implementation of the CPR involves adding the indicators and tasks to standard jobs. Thank you for watching.